Hey everybody, I am very excited to have another opportunity to talk to a Fairway person. If you've looked at any of my stuff on my YouTube channel, you know I have a love relationship with Fairway Mortgage for a lot of reasons. But you also know, if you know me at all, you know I'm very much in the senior marketplace. And so I love what Fairway does with respect to the mortgages, reverse mortgages specifically. So I have Tom Evans here with me. And we're going to talk a little bit about the HECM for Purchase program. And people that don't know what that means are going to say, what's HECM mean? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But mostly, Tom, would you introduce yourself and tell the group a little bit what you do?
Thank you for having me, Jenny. It's really a pleasure to be on the call with you. I am Tom Evans. I am the EVP of Reverse Marketing and Technology here at Fairway. I have been in the reverse industry for about 20 years, got my start working on the Robert Wagner television commercials, fetching coffee, and ended up writing, directing, and producing those commercials eventually. Then had to handle all the stuff that happened after that, which was all the lead management side of helping those customers get connected to loan officers, which eventually grew into becoming a marketing executive. And I'm really excited about where the industry is headed now, which is why I was glad to have an opportunity to talk to you today.
Well, you and I chatted the other day. We were speaking about an event that I'm going to have the honor of speaking for a Fairway in November. And we talked through that a little bit because, of course, I remember the RJ, the Robert Wagner stuff. I remember the top selling stuff. And if you recall, I told you I knew Robert Wagner from back in the olden days when I was a lot younger, and so was he. But one of the things that you said to me stood out to me, which is why I wanted us to do this interview, which you said, in some ways, we haven't focused enough on the real solution, which can be the real game changer for that senior. And as you know, I've done several of this type of transaction where I always go to one particular woman where she reached out to me and she had a reverse mortgage loan officer who was a disaster. Oh, by the way. And I had to do a lot of band-aiding and sewing and knitting to keep things under control. But it reached the point where she was ready to give up. But she was doing a reverse mortgage for purchase, which effectively meant she was selling her home wherever it was, I don't remember, and buying the home that she now lives in, using the equity of the home she had to buy the home she now lives in without having a mortgage. And the one thing that I said to her, she was getting frustrated with this loan, and I don't blame her. I was pretty frustrated with the guy too. But she finally said, I'm just going to get a regular mortgage. And I did this because I do that a lot. I put my hand up and I said, so let me ask a question. Do you want a mortgage payment or do you not want a mortgage payment? And she just looked at me. I said, so what you just said would mean you'd have a mortgage payment. Let's just get ourselves together, calm down, because you're going to get to move into this wonderful home, live happily ever after, and not have a mortgage payment. Well, needless to say, that's how we went forward. And so I was really interested in your words regarding this and the HECM for Purchase and Fairway's position as a company. And so can you share with this audience a little bit on some of that for us? Because I think everybody needs to understand what this looks like and what it really means.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Fairway is a purchase mortgage company. That's what we do. And like most great big purchase mortgage companies, I think we're number 3 in the industry right now. When the market is ready for it, you do some refinance business on the side, right? To help bolster your revenue. But purchase is what we do. We get people into homes. And the interesting thing about reverse mortgages is that when people are over 62, they still want to get into homes, sometimes even more than before, whether they want to move closer to family or further away from family, depending on the situation,
Yeah.
or if they want different amenities, or if they want to move to different climates. These are all things that are extremely valuable to people who are over 62 who are looking to buy. And we've kind of, as an industry, ignored that population
Yeah.
and put them into loans that probably aren't best for them.
Right.
The irony of it, Ginny, is that we say, oh, well, if you get a forward mortgage, it's because you're somehow protecting your home equity in the long
Right.
run. Guess what? If you're making a mortgage payment until you're 92, you're not protecting that much
No.
equity at the end of the day, right? You're dumping a lot of money into the home. So what I love about the reverse for purchase and HECM, as you mentioned earlier, home equity conversion mortgage, right, is just taking equity and turning it into available funds to do everything, including purchasing that very
Purchasing a new
home that you're
home.
moving into.
Yeah.
So the thing that's awesome about it is that, for us, we are a purchase company. We should be helping more people buy homes. We can help them buy homes that are more expensive than they may think their current budget is, and they can do that without having to make a monthly mortgage payment. I mean, there's really nothing better than that.
Not at all. And one of the other things that pops into my mind always is and I knew someone up in Los Angeles that I was teaching up there, and this particular agent came to me and she said, because I was teaching the senior real estate specialist program, and she came to me, she said, what you just described, because of course I'm the one that goes through the whole process of reverse mortgages, and I was talking about the HECM for purchase. And she said, what you just described is my aunt. And I said, what's going on? She said, my aunt lives in a really rough neighborhood, and she's on a very limited fixed income, and she wants to get out. I said, that's the magic formula. I mean, your aunt could sell that home, get out of the neighborhood she's uncomfortable in, choose another place to live, use the equity she built up in that, and then buy a new home in a place she wants to be, maybe closer to you or other family members, without a mortgage payment. And she just looked at me and she literally teared up. I mean, that's why I'm passionate about this, because she literally got tears in her eyes.
And in this case, it's beyond just helping someone get out of a tough situation. We're offering them a brighter future in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And in that situation, let's say that your customer did sell their home and tried to buy another home in cash. They might not be able to move up out of a neighborhood similar to the one they're already in because the way home values have exploded. However, if that 500,000, 600,000 in cash that they're netting from the sale of that home could be amplified with another 400,000 coming from the HECM for purchase, suddenly they're in a whole different bracket and can afford a much better home to keep them safe.
Absolutely. And that people don't understand. So talk to me a little bit. I know I'm familiar with many of your team members. I've had conversations with several of them over the period of time of our relationship. And one of the things the statistics you shared with me is that you have found through your research that Fairway is doing a lot more HECM for purchase loans than I thought personally. So talk about that. I'd love to hear those statistics.
Sure. So as it turns out, the industry right now averages around 7% HECM for purchase. And that's your AAGs, your FARs, your Liberties, et cetera. Fairway is in the 20% plus range. Wow. So we're doing a lot more purchases. We are the #1 purchase company in the country. And if things go the way I'd like them to go, we're going to be at 50% purchase by the end of 2025, because this is the future of our business and the future of our industry. We can already see it in our top producing loan officers. I would say on average, our top tier LOs are doing 30% purchase business already.
Wow.
So they're seeing the customers that are out there. In some cases, the customers are coming in asking for a traditional HECM. Like, let's imagine that your client had come to you and said, well, in addition to not loving the neighborhood I'm in, I also need to fix my house up. So can I stay here and get $100,000 out of my house? Well, you could be like, wait a minute, you don't have to stay if you don't want to. Yes, this is the home that you've lived in all these years, but how about other opportunities? We can present those to you in a very easy way. We're seeing the shift, and it's happening at Fairway. Fairway is leading the charge. There was an article out there in Reverse Mortgage Daily recently where most people said, well, it could be a sleeping giant, but we don't believe enough in it. We think it's too complicated. We don't think people will understand it. 40 years ago, a reverse mortgage didn't exist. 20 years ago, no one knew what it was at all. And now it's become commonplace enough that it shows up on late night talk shows when the hosts are making jokes, right? But there's still a lot of misconception about what the product is. By pivoting this into purchase, which creates opportunity for home buyers, creates opportunity for real estate professionals, opens inventory up, which is such a key piece, right? If we can take these older folks that are in older homes and move them into bigger, brighter, newer homes, suddenly all those older homes are on the market for renovation and to be bought by folks that are Gen X, millennial, and younger. So it's a game changer. It could reset the real estate environment of the United States if we do it correctly.
I agree with you completely. And I, as you know, I care deeply. I've sold homes to people who use they kept the house that they were in, because I know the rules. You have to be in the house as your primary. So they took cash out of that primary, bought the home in advance that they were going to retire in, and then rented it for 2 years, and then moved into it when they were ready. There's so many wonderful things that can be done, but for me, the look on my friend's face when I asked her that question, I tend to be a little New York. I said, well, do you want a mortgage payment or not? Come on. And she just looked. Yeah, but that's the only way to be. So she said, "You're right." I said, "Just get over it." And the house
I
was
love that.
so perfect. Sometimes it's just get over it. And we can't hint. We have to be honest, but we have to be willing and able to share the long-term benefits versus, well, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Mhm.
And I'm very proud of the fact that I've been able to do the deals that I've done in situations like that because it just changed people's lives.
And
Uh,
you do an amazing job of that, and that's why we love working with you. You know, talked a little bit before in our previous conversation about my parents, and here I am having been in this industry for a long time. And my parents were never interested in getting a reverse mortgage until they decided they wanted to move closer to my sister. All of a sudden, you know, the whole conversation changed because I went to them, much like you said, "Do you want to make a mortgage payment?" And I said, "Do you want a bigger, better house or not?" You know,
mm,
do you want to live close to Laura? You can do it in this neighborhood at your current price point, or you can do it at this price point and live right exactly where you want to with all the features that you want.
mhm,
And so what? You're not necessarily going to leave the house to us, but if we want it, we can find a way to get it back in the family and we can
mm,
keep that generational home wealth if we want it. If we don't, there will still be equity left in the
yeah.
property that can benefit your heirs afterwards. But my mom was like, well, forget about you guys. I just want to make sure we have the house we want. And I'm like, yes, exactly. That's what I want for you. I want
Mm.
you to live where you want, the way you want. And I don't want you to have to carry a mortgage payment. This is the perfect answer. Like you said, just stop worrying about it and do it.
Well, I think what I love that you said was the issue of uh, you can do whatever you want to do. There's still going to be equity left, but you're disconnected from your, it was about them. And that's one of the hardest things to explain to somebody is, I had a really, really dear friend. He was a physician, just an absolute genius. And he was afraid to move into a facility, which he needed to do because he wanted to keep the money for his kids. And I'm saying, well, wait a minute. That makes no sense whatsoever. There's no logic to that, none at all. And I go back to my friend's case, the house where I asked her, do you want a mortgage payment or not? She still had enough equity from the home she sold from where she came from, so that when she moved in, she bought a house without a mortgage payment, and then she still had money in the bank. She had cash available to her. And she and her
So
sister,
key.
I think within 6 months, they took a trip to Europe, which they'd wanted to do their entire lives because she was using those dollars to live her life the way she wanted to live it. I mean, come on. Where's
A
the
great point. I love that, Jenny, because let's say you do want to make a lateral move, you're moving to a different state, you want to buy a home that fits your needs, that's exactly the same price as the home you just sold. Wouldn't you like to retain some of that cash from the
yeah,
sale of the house? You know,
yeah.
I mean, I think that folks, this is about winning the real estate game, right?
Hmm.
You're over 62, you now have an opportunity to win the real estate game. And it's all based on the nature of the product and how it's built and how it's designed. It's not it's a loophole that works for you. If your accountant brought this to you, you'd be like, all day, let me do this, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
here's an opportunity that rather than spending the $500,000 I earned from the sale of my house on another $500,000 house, I can spend $300,000, finance the rest, and not make a payment, and have that 200 in cash to give to my children while I'm alive,
Right,
if I want to
right,
take them on that trip to Europe. You know, so
right.
many opportunities, and again, I think people just are afraid of something for some reason. There's all these weird little, well, my hairdresser told me they're a bad idea. Well, where's your hairdresser living these days? Let me
Right.
talk to her.
She probably doesn't even own a house, forgive me. I have someone in my community and it breaks my heart. She is very restricted. She owns her home outright, but she read, I mean, back many, 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 many years ago, she truly believes she said, Jenny, I won't even talk to you about it. She flat out refuses to talk to me about it because she's made up stuff in her mind. But yet I know that if she did this, her life would be better for her. She would have flexibility, financial flexibility. One of the things that I want to do, and I was talking about this the other day, I am not in that position at this point, but is my daughter and son-in-law and I are very close, and the goal is one day to have a compound together. Well, my brain is saying, okay, when I'm ready to do this, I think I'm going to buy the compound and I'm going to fix it up, and then they can come live on my property. Doesn't that make more sense? Isn't that
It
fun?
does. It's fun, and it allows you to handle the financing, which is beneficial to them, which
Right.
does build generational wealth. I think everybody should be thinking like that. You
Yeah.
know, the it's just to really strip it down and simplify it. I was just working with our website team on an exercise around this. Let's say you have impeccable credit and you're 73 years old and you want to move, right? Which, first of all, God bless you for having impeccable credit. If you were to say you're still earning, right, and you make about $50,000 a year,
Mhm.
and you have $300,000 from the sale of your current home,
Mhm.
you can afford a $450,000 house if you get
Mhm.
approved for that mortgage.
In what
On
state?
the reverse side, yeah, I know I'm keeping the numbers very low right now. Let's say it's North Carolina or South Carolina.
Okay.
On the flip side, if you were to take that same level of assets and get it with a reverse mortgage, you now can afford a $550,000 house. So you just gave yourself $100,000 more amenities, more upgrades, a better location, or $100,000 cash in your pocket
Money in the
as a
bank.
result of that. Money in the
Mhm.
bank.
Mhm.
It to me, it just makes so much sense, and that's my mission from here on out, Jenny. The rest of my career is going to be educating people on, hey, do you think you can't afford this house? You
Right.
might be wrong.
Right.
Maybe you can. Let us
Right.
let us look and see if you can.
Right.
And
Instead of
more times than not, you'll be able to afford it.
Absolutely. And that's one of those great things that are such a challenge is educating people. Well, Tom, it's always a joy to talk to anybody at Fairway. I'm very honored to have this opportunity every time I do it. I want to make sure that I'm doing as much as I can to help facilitate your personal goals for the company because I know a lot of folks at Fairway, and I've yet to meet anybody that isn't just amazing and wonderful and smart and all those things. In fact, I even there's a gal here in San Diego County that reached out to me and I said, do this. And she got qualified to do reverses and she's awesome. And she's just loving life now. And I'm helping her be better at it. We're going to do some seminars together, going to do some workshops together to try to bring the message to the consumer so the consumer has a better understanding of what does this all mean. So anything else that you think we should end with that stands out at you?
Just thank you. We couldn't ask for a better ally in this than
Mm.
you. You have a way of cutting through the noise for folks. We want to do the same thing. And I think that's why our partnership works so well.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, this is a transformative experience and a transformative opportunity for so many people that
Mhm.
are missing out on it because some bad stuff happened in 1986. If we
I
didn't
think.
do everything that was bad from 1986, we'd be in a very different world, don't you think?
Totally, totally. I was trying to think what bad happened in 86. Let me think back. But I think for me, because of the way I think and my whole and I love what you just said, is my process is that instead of being fearful, be educated. Instead of being afraid and make it, my father had a black belt in worry to the point where he used to drive me nuts. I said, so Dad, what are you worrying about? Well, blah, blah, blah. I said, did you make that up to worry about it? Because it doesn't really exist, does it, Dad? Well, no, it really does. Then stop. I mean, truly, that's what it was. So when I go to this, I'm of the philosophy that until you're educated, stop worrying. If you're unsure, which is different than worrying, if you're unsure, go find the education, go find out more about it. Talk to someone at Fairway so that you can have a better understanding of what does it mean? How does it really work? Because when you do that well, then the light bulb goes off of your head and you say, wow, I can live in this absolutely fabulous home with this beautiful yard and have rose bushes and stuff and not have a mortgage payment. The end. I mean, I just got goosies because that's that I get
I
I
did
get
too.
I get that passionate. I get goosies and like that's really what it's about. And it's a true benefit. I know for me personally, I work very hard. I have my entire life. When you look at like my parents as an example, they worked very hard their entire lives. If you've worked that long and you've built up the equity in your home, as both RJ and Tom used to sell, use that equity, but use it for the purchase piece. Find the house you really want to have, buy it using that reverse, and you'll probably still have cash left over. And done the right way, still might have. But at the end of the day, it's your house, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is my house.
And that's where I'll leave you on this. My mom and dad are very intelligent people. I look up to them daily. And they're not warriors like your dad was, but they are skeptics. And my mom was a skeptic all the way through until she actually had somebody from Fairway talk to her and really explain to her what the nuts and bolts are. And the one thing that I helped with that I think is important for people to understand is that this is not a government thing. This is
No.
not a benefit. This is not a tax related thing. This
Mm-mm.
is you are taking a loan out just like you would take out a forward mortgage. You're insuring that loan to
Mhm.
make sure that you can pay it back. That's exactly what happens with a forward mortgage.
That's
If
right.
you get, I love the idea that you have an opportunity when you're a young first-time home buyer and when you're an older, perhaps last-time home buyer, that you can insure your loan to make it easier for you and safer for you and give you more out of life. Because
Hmm.
that's what it comes down to. And when I explained that to my mom, all of a sudden it was like, oh, okay, I get it now.
The
I
bulb
get it.
over the head, right? The bulb over the
Yes.
head. Yeah. And that's what I don't want to mention her name. That's what happened with her. It was like, wow, you're right. I said, yeah, I am. So I tend to, yeah, I am. Just stop. And let's just go. It'll be okay. I'm going to protect you from this guy. He was a bad loan officer, but that's not my first rodeo with bad loan officers. Oh, by the way, but I have enjoyed this so much, Tom. I
Have
am
to.
proud of everything Fairway is doing. I'm very excited about the fact that you're looking in this direction because I believe that, yeah, there are a lot of people out there that have equity and maybe don't want to live where they're living anymore. And this is their solution. Or maybe they want to buy in that active adult community where they may have always, I mean, I look at one particular community, even where I live, there's a swimming pool and there's a spa and all of these things and there's a clubhouse. And you mean I could buy there by, yeah, I said, yeah, you can. And that's what it is. And we have to remember that and help as many people as we can. Tom, you're
Love
awesome.
it. So are
Uh,
you.
I really enjoyed this chat. Thank you so much. And I'll be seeing you soon, coming up in November. But this has been great. I really appreciate you. I love our relationship. And
Me too.
let's keep doing it.
Thank you. And whoever talks to RJ next, say hi.
Well, it's not going to be me. But yeah, I thought it was you. You were supposed to go back to him and say, do you remember this lady that
I
used to?
texted him. I texted him about you.
All right, Tom, you're the best. Take care, sweetheart. I'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.